Hello, this is Nova TopFlex, and in this video, I am demonstrating the steps to creating a NetBSD 11.0 virtual machine with the DVD installation media. This is going to be emulated for AMD 64. Right now, the system I'm recording this on is x86 64, so it is the same architecture that AMD 64 refers to. The website is https://cdn, content delivery network by the way, .netbsd.org. So I'm going to do wget http, and then should it be S secure, or let me actually check. So it's going to be copy link address. If you don't already know it, you could do copy link address on your side, or you could just do a clipboard. But since I'm on Xterm, it unfortunately doesn't really work that much. So it's going to be https://cdn.netbsd.org/pub/ make sure this is spelled case sensitive, capitalize it correctly, netbsd/netbsd-11.0/images, all lowercase, /netbsd-11.0-AMD64-dvd.iso, and then yes. You just need to wait for this to be fully completed, and then you can do your next step. What I like to do with NetBSD is I like to give a sufficient amount of memory, usually 2 gigabytes of memory for NetBSD, and usually up to 4 gigabytes for the Linux systems, because BSDs are generally older and more basic than Linux. It's going to make more sense to put a little less on your BSD. In this context, I'm going to allocate 16 gigabytes of storage, which might seem a little excessive for most of you, but this is the same storage that I'm using for Linux virtual machines in other videos. So for efficiency, I'm going to keep it at 16 gigabytes and do 2 gigabytes of memory here on NetBSD. But overall, we're still looking and we're still working our way up to that point. We're almost done. We just have a few more seconds remaining. And then we have QEMU-img create-f, that's format raw, and then -o, and then size equals 16G, and I'm going to call it netbsd.img. Okay, it's officially been formatted. What I can now do is QEMU- and I'm also going to do control and then left click main options full screen, QEMU-system-x86_64, and I'm going to do -m 2048. You can also do 2G with an uppercase G, but this is what I like to do, -device VGA, VGA mem_MB equals 32. That's usually what I do, because 32 is enough for 1080p. You need to do 128 or 4K to do that, 128 or 256. With 32, you can do 1080p. I think 64, you could do 1440p. But actually, I might not need that much memory, graphics memory, to do 720p. I might be okay with doing just 16. But in this demonstration, I'm still doing 32. And I'm going to do -drive file equals, and then I'm going to call it netbsd, and then my ISO, this 11.0 AMD 64 DVD.iso, it's going to be format equals raw, media equals, and then it's going to be CD-ROM -drive file equals netbsd.img, format equals raw, media equals disk, and then after disk, I'm going to do -boot, and then it's actually D for CD-ROM, to boot to the CD-ROM first. And then it's going to be C to boot to the disk. So boot normally, this will be 1. You can boot single user, that's 2, or you can drop to boot prompt, that's 3. Single user mode is similar to single user mode on select other platforms, in that you will be on a terminal in many different contexts. Single user mode means that you only have one possible user of the system. Now, how's it different from single user mode in other platforms? Single user mode is typically associated with classic terminal emulators, and sometimes, like Apple Macs used to have single user mode as an option if you boot up the system, but it's been phased out since 2018 roughly. 2018, 2019, and newer model Macs no longer actually have single user mode, so we're stuck with the regular interface. But here in the open source world, single user mode is still very real. And because of how slow this is, I just realized I forgot something important. And that is my accelerator, -accel kvm-boot d. So we're now at NetBSD x86 BIOS boot, and then BIOS boot, we have the BIOS for boot normally, boot single user, drop to boot prompt. You might notice that it at least looks faster. It might not actually be faster necessarily, but it just looks faster. But it should be easier to do this when you hear. So return for default, space to stop countdown, and then option 1 will be chosen in 0 seconds and why not and whatnot. Actually, that countdown did work without KVM, but with KVM, it's going to be much faster. Much faster. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but it is a day and night difference in many operating systems that support KVM. You can do KVM with BSDs, you can do it with Linux, but KVM is actually a feature of Linux that doesn't really work on BSDs. I forgot about the fact that this is NetBSD and not Linux, because for some reason I thought KVM was a feature of the BSD systems, but apparently not. Actually, KVM cannot run natively on NetBSD. However, it is on my Ubuntu host. But I did actually find the opportunity. I'm going to do unchanged, install NetBSD to a hard disk, and then what I will do here is I will do WD0, and then GUID partition table, correct geometry, and then use the, let me actually check with this, set sizes and partitions, and then it does look like what we also have here. We have the file system sizes, and then swap temp, that's TMP, and whatnot, and then go on with free space of however much it is. But overall, what we have is file system slash and whatnot, and then we want to do, so I think that we're actually good. Partition sizes are okay, and now we have, shall we continue? Yes. And as it turns out, KVM does accelerate my system setup. I'm actually doing installation with X11 rather than without it. Now, this will actually be a way that you can make sure that you have the best chances of running NetBSD on your system. But overall, this can be a slow process. Okay, no surprises, but it is still running. And you can still expect the ETAs to be a bit varied, like 225, 226, 227. But overall, the times should be fairly consistent. Actually, though, it's not about the time of day, it's about the number of minutes and seconds remaining for the download now that I say that. So yes, really, even though it's called i386, the 32-bit version of this would actually require you to use a 486 or above. But this is called AMD 64. AMD and Intel, often known for being competitors in the past. Team Red, Team Blue, Team Red is AMD, Team Blue is Intel. We all use x86 64 today in all reality. But Intel, Team Blue, was really where AMD got their x86 architecture from. You will notice that the screen might be flashing every single moment. That is normal. That is part of the NetBSD installation process. But eventually, now in the past, I tried doing HTTP, HTTPS for the download install, but if you use a CD or DVD, you should use a CD DVD to install the NetBSD also, which is very important because it needs to match what you're actually doing. CD DVD, you can also do HTTP, HTTPS. There are some netboot possibilities. If you use netboot.xyz, netboot.xyz does give you some features as important. we are still looking at different commands. The extraction of the selected sets for NetBSD 11 is complete. The system is now able to boot from the selected hard disk. To complete, sysinst will give you the opportunity to configure some essential things first. Changing local password for root. New password. Never give it out to anyone. That's just good practice. Avoid giving out your passwords. It's not just here, it's everywhere. This system seems to lack a cryptographically strong pseudo-random number generator. There is not enough entropy available to create secure keys, such as SSH host keys. If you plan to use this installation for production work and will, for example, have SSH host keys generated, we strongly advise to complete the entropy setup now. You may use random data generated on another computer and load it here, or you could enter random characters manually. If you have a USB random number device, connect it now and select the retest option. And then, honestly, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with random number generators, because the guest operating system, I think that my host might have a cryptographically strong random number generator in it. My computer can do SSH keys, so I'm going to do just load raw binary random data, actually. So DHCPCD-D-NWM0, just making sure, because you could do raw files randomly, like, yes. What is my host name? My host name for now is just localhost. And then my DNS domain, I'm honestly not sure what my DNS domain is, but yes, please only use trustworthy local networks. Okay, so now it's going to be random.temp, and then called with a null argument. So I'm going to do not now, continue, because I did make some mistake here. Now, I think this is new to NetBSD 11, because when I tried doing this with older versions of NetBSD, like 10.2 or earlier perhaps, they didn't even give me any worries about some cryptographically strong random number generator. I think this is just new for this time. So configure network, let me actually check if I can configure the network, or because I think that if it's configure network, WM0, auto select, and then let me actually check. My host name will be localhost, and I'm not sure what my DNS domain is. It might actually depend on my host in real life. My time zone is not UTC. I am America / and I'm going to say America / New York. I am Eastern Standard and Eastern Daylight Time. Root shell, I'm doing shell sh, change root password, I already did that. Install, enable the installation of binary packages. Yes, please. Any additional packages? No thanks, not right now. But install pkgin, pkgn, package in. I'm not sure if you could do that. Additional packages, and then also quit installing binary for now because they were abandoned, and then fetch and unpack this, and then download via, let me check, HTTPS. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do with this, but I'm still trying to do the HTTPS downloads and installs. Might not be perfect though, because obviously, but this is a content delivery network, and it can be hit or miss whether or not you're actually downloading something the proper way. If you are wondering which platforms you can run NetBSD on in its latest version, you have AMD 64, you have ARM, you have i386, but the kernel requires you to have a 486 or above, MIPS, PowerPC, Spark 64, and then you have some other architectures. You have architectures that include, that's Zen, XEN, it's up to apparently 10.1, although I think 11 is the latest version you can actually run now. I don't know that there is a 10.2, but there is an 11 now. But right now we're on NetBSD 11, but overall we have Tier 2, we have Acorn 32, we have Algor, we have Alpha, Amiga PPC, this is for PowerPC based, ARC, Advanced RISC Computing Spec, Atari, Bebox, CATS, Sesfic, Cobalt, Dreamcast, Epoch 32, EMIPS, EVBSH3, EWS, that's OOS 4800 MIPS, HP 300, HPPA, HPC MIPS, HPCSH, IA64, IBM NWS, that's Network Station Series 1000, Ionix, LANDisk, and then we have Luna 68K, Mac 68K, Mac PPC, MIPSCO, MMI, MVME, that's Motorola 68K PowerPC, NetWinder News 68K News MIPS, Next 68K OFPPC, that's Open Firmware Compliant PowerPC machines, just generic PowerPC, PMAX Prep, RISC-V, that's RISC-V, RS6000, Sandpoint, SB MIPS, SGI MIPS, Shark, Spark, Sun2, Sun3, VAX, that's Digital VAX, X68K, and Zorus. And then Tier 3 is life support, severely incapacitated or broken, and it includes different ports and CPUs, ARch64, Alpha, ARM, HPPA, i386, M68010, M68K, MIPS-EB, MIPS-EL, that's Big Endian, Little Endian, PowerPC, SH3, Big Endian, Little Endian, that's EBEL, Spark, Spark64, VAX, and x86-64. You have ports and CPUs are different concepts, the machine arch. And then the machines here, we have uname-m, uname-p, build.sh-m and -a. And we have some that are not actually uname values at all. But this is all that we have with NetBSD speaking and NetBSD wise. So, yes. Okay, so it's actually done with the package source. Now let me actually check if there's any way I can do the binaries. And now I want to do package in, and I'm going to do it hopefully with the HTTPS like I did before. So we're all done with it. Now SSHD is now NTPD. Now this is going to be NTP date to set time over network. Multicast support, which I normally say yes to, especially because I believe Anycast is an IPv4 thing and multicast I believe is IPv6. Now enable XDM, which is our X display manager. It's a yes or a no. Which one do you want to do? Yes or no? I'm going to do LVM logical volume manager. No thanks. But I did actually do, so set up entropy. Not now. Continue. I think this is actually a new feature of NetBSD 11. Now hit enter to continue. So we are now officially installed. What I can do now is I can do the following. This is me doing Control C, and I'm going to replace boot D for CD-ROM with boot C now for disk. I'm going to boot normally now. Now that you're seeing the green text, you can tell that you are no longer talking about the circumstances here on the installer, but instead you're now focusing on the real NetBSD officially. Okay, so now let me actually log in. I do not have any user accounts other than root. So it's going to be root and never give your password to anyone. What we're now here with, it says that there may not be enough entropy, so they may be predictable, unfortunately. Now you can run /etc/rc.d/sshd, and then you can do key again, and then we recommend that you create a non-root account and use su for root access, but there isn't even enough entropy to do SSH key. So if you know how to deal with a lack of entropy for SSH, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, try to hack the YouTube algorithm, and also please comment your thoughts on how I can get entropy on a virtual machine, because I don't know if there's entropy on a host machine that can't get into a guest or what. But overall, thanks for watching. Sorry about having to repeat myself so much.